Hi, I'm Katie Wesney.
And I'm Shelley Palman, and we are delighted to be your hosts tonight.
So let's get straight into it. Paying off your mortgage feels like the finish line, but for the smartest wealth builders, it's actually the starting gun. Tonight, Shelley and I are showing you one couple, three strategies, and three completely different financial futures. Same income, same mortgage, radically different outcomes. Because here's the thing, the goal isn't just to be debt free, it's to build wealth while you're paying down debt and then know exactly what to do with the momentum you've created. We're covering the traditional 30-year slog, the balanced diversification play, and the leverage strategy that turns your paid off equity into serious wealth generation. Your life, your choice. We're just here to show you the consequences of each path so you can make decisions with your eyes wide open. By the end, you'll know which path fits your goals and how to stop leaving money on the table while you're busy being responsible. Let's go. So, between us, we have a formidable 20 years of
20
experience.
years.
I know we're aging well as
Yeah.
financial advisors at Enable Me. Together, we have successfully coached hundreds, if not thousands, of clients towards achieving financial freedom. And we treat that as a real privilege, don't we, Shelley? In terms
Absolutely.
of we are hugely passionate. It is such a privilege to help people.
hmm
In the same breath, we're not here to muck around. Our job is to tell it to you straight and put you on the path to the financial success you deserve.
So, paying off your mortgage, it's a massive milestone. But what if you could take it further? The real question isn't just how fast can I be mortgage free? It's what opportunities can I unlock along the way as a result of all of my hard work? So, what we're going to cover off tonight is the hidden cost of doing what the system tells you to do, which is just stick to that 30-year mortgage term. We're going to talk about why having a diversified approach to investments, managed funds, KiwiSaver, and property all matter and can tie into your plan, and how to decide the right mix for you for your financial future. Because, hey, again, we're all different people. It's your life. You're different to the next person that's going to walk in our door. So, we want to make sure that you have the right investment mix, I should say, for your particular situation.
And that leads me on to because we don't know who you are, your preferences around risk, etc., we need to ensure you understand that this presentation is provided for informational purposes only. The content of this presentation is not intended as a substitute for regulated financial advice. Of course, we'd love to know your personal situation, and we have a wee offer. If any of this resonates with anyone and you'd like to dig a bit deeper into your personal financial situation and what path is right for you, we'll have a wee offer at the end that we will share with you. So, we want to be really targeted tonight. We will talk at pace and we really want to understand who our audience is tonight. You've submitted some amazing questions and we're going to cover
Yes.
them off at the end. We've got an amazing producer, Emma, who'll be collating all of those questions, and there's a wee Q&A box. Ask us anything. We are just here to help. So first we'll start off with a wee poll. So are you mortgage free at the moment? Yes, I don't own my own home. No, I'm more than 15 years away from being mortgage free. No, I'm less than 15 years, or I'm mortgage free on my home, but not on my investment properties. So we'll just wait for that poll to pop up. Here it is. So just choose the choice that is right for you. Some of our clients are not quite in property yet. Again, we
Mm.
don't care where you're at. We just want to understand that starting position, and then we walk with you from there. Okay, let's press on, and we'll wait for those results to come through. Great. So, are you mortgage free? Oh, Yes, 21%. That's
Well
fantastic. I know.
done.
Woohoo. We actually have a bell that we ring
Yes, we
at
do.
Enable Me when we get you
Some of
mortgage
us have
free.
whiteboards,
I know. We're celebrating
tallies.
with you.
Mhm.
More than 15 years away, less than 15 years away. Okay, I'm mortgage free
Okay.
on my home, but not my investment. A good split. Okay.
61% do have a mortgage.
Yeah.
Okay. And a lot of us are thinking about that investment kind of mix too.
Interesting.
So
Okay,
awesome.
we'll speak to that.
You're in the
Awesome.
right place, guys.
Yeah, we'll look after you, certainly.
Okay. So they don't call it the death pledge for nothing. If you don't have a better way of getting yourself mortgage free faster, that death pledge can be the reason why you feel stuck, and it could be stuck in a job that you hate. It could be feeling stuck and you can't start that business that you always dreamed of starting. It might be the thing that takes you away from spending time with your family because you're still having to make those mortgage free payments. Please don't resign yourself to a life that doesn't feel like the one that you always wanted. There's definitely a better way.
And in encapsulating that better way, we're going to take you on. Imagine you're in kind of a pick a path book, but
I like that.
we're gonna guide you
Going back
through
to the
this.
80s,
We
Katie.
really
This is
are.
like
I'm showing my age now.
choose
Um,
your path.
yeah,
Some
we
people might remember those books, others not
yeah.
so much.
Yeah. So essentially, we will introduce you to our model couple, Sarah and Mike. Don't know about you, but half my friends are called Sarah, the other half are called Mike. Again, 70s, 80s,
Not a
babies.
real couple, not a
Not
real
a real
couple.
couple, but the situation is really typical. And in terms of the clients we see, youngest client is 24, oldest client is 84. So Sarah and Mike, they've bought their first home at 35, which is really typical. That's the average age that New Zealanders buy property. Average term of a mortgage is 30 years. So that is the average person in New Zealand. This couple, they have 200K household income before tax between them, which is 145K in their hand. Their mortgage is 600,000, and they are proud owners of that death pledge, which is going to be paid off over a 30-year term. Um,
They're
they
not
are
sure if they
really
could get ahead.
yeah, and I think it's always important to celebrate this milestones. Getting into your first home definitely is a milestone. They're really proud of what they've achieved so far. They're uncertain of how they can possibly get ahead, and they're not sure if they'll experience financial freedom again. That
Mm,
lovely sense of I
mm.
have money in the bank and I'm going to be okay. So, Shelley, do you want to take us through the first
Yes.
traditional path?
Yeah. So this is kind of what the current system in New Zealand is. We get on the ladder at age 35, we have a 35-year term. So we end up at the age of 65, which hopefully for a lot of us, we do actually start getting the pension at that point, but we're not actually mortgage free until that point. So for Sarah and Mike, if they follow the system that's been laid out for them, they've got 30 years ahead of them on that hamster wheel, working so they can make their mortgage repayments. And I think a sad fact that's actually quite little known is that the mortgage repayments actually stay the same until the day you pay the mortgage off. So the mortgage isn't paid off until that last bitter repayment. And disappointingly for Sarah and Mike, our couple of the day, they're also going to pay around double what their original mortgage was. So the $600,000 mortgage, they're likely to pay $1.2 million back to the bank. That's what the average Kiwi is doing in terms of that traditional path. Not okay. Not okay.
Yeah,
Doesn't
yeah.
really work, does it?
Yeah, and again, I suppose you've come along here tonight and we really challenge average in at Enable Me. I absolutely will not accept this for my clients.
Mm,
So it's understanding, well, what are the other ways to get
mm,
ahead? Because I think that at the moment, particularly, it is a challenging economic environment. Lots of people are coming to us with job insecurity. If they have businesses, it's an absolute slog.
mm,
Interest rates have been really high. Cost of living is high. It is hard, it is not impossible, and part of the session tonight is understanding, well, there are things that we can control and there are things we can't control. We're going to focus on the controllables. So the second pick a path for you tonight, for Sarah and Mike, is okay, we're going to still pay off that mortgage over that 30-year term, but we are going to do better from a cash flow perspective. So
Mm,
stats tell us in that first picker path, that traditional path, for the vast majority of New Zealanders, we spend everything that we earned. In this scenario, we're challenging that paradigm, and because we know on average people fritter about 15% of their net income. A little bit of overspending, a lot of paying too much interest to the bank.
mm,
So part of what we work with our clients to do initially is to build that really strong foundation to find that fritter or lazy money and put it to good use. Sarah and Mike on this path are just paying the minimum amounts on their mortgage over that 30-year term, but they're taking that 15% of income that is left over after all the expenses and they're investing in managed funds. So let's understand the consequence of that soon. Shelley, take it away in terms of that third path.
yeah, which we would argue is the more superior option, Katie, the mortgage master. So when you work with a coach and you become a mortgage master, we're really combining being strategic, around how we structure your mortgage, how we pay that off faster, and what opportunities we create by doing so. So, can we leverage? Can we grow wealth sooner than what we're naturally on track to do if we stick to the normal path? So, for Sarah and Mike on this third picker path, financial freedom will come much sooner than those previous two paths. So, in my mind, why would you not? So, what we've done is we've said we have coached Sarah and Mike on this third picker path. We've pushed them. And when you work with a coach, everybody has a unique personality type. So, working with someone who can understand you and speak to your unique personality type to really stretch you and get the best out of you, we know success is actually 80% behavior, 20% is the strategy. So, under the third picker path, we push Sarah and Mike to find 20%, not 15, but 20 of their take home pay. And we channel this into their home mortgage, paying it off faster. By taking 20% of their pay, and we have done this as a live example, by the way, in our systems, they would be mortgage free in 12 years. So they would be 47 years old at that point. What that opens up to Sarah and Mike is that in 5 years' time, so when they have 7 years left to go on their improved mortgage trajectory, they will have built up enough equity in their home to leverage to buy another appreciating asset, which in this case, we have said an $800,000 investment property. So that was the path, the third picker path for Sarah and Mike.
So Shelley, I'm going to play the devil's advocate.
Yes.
So times are tough.
Mm,
Um, and you were saying that people have 20% kind of lying around. How would one find that?
mm.
Let's give people some
Good,
tips
good
around
question.
what
Good
that might
question.
look like. Yeah.
And when you go to apply for that mortgage from the bank, they don't just stretch you to your absolute max. They have
Thank
affordability
goodness.
calculators. Yeah. So responsible lenders, they have affordability calculators. So the bank always build in fat. They would not lend to you if they didn't think you could afford the repayments at a slightly higher interest rate. So they build in your kind of fixed costs. They build in a little bit of fat, put it that way. So we want to kind of find that fat. And what we do is we actually help our clients to set up systems to feel more in control. And we know that humans are famously not very good with willpower. So we don't want to rely on a good day and having willpower on a good day because that doesn't always happen. So, setting up those systems in the background, such as, for example, we might have a bank account where we allocate a weekly amount for our grocery and food spend. We want to make sure that our bills are covered. So, setting up those systems so that the default position is that we do actually find that 20% and we're not relying on our own willpower. Does that make
Hmm.
sense?
Yeah, super
Mm,
helpful. And I think a core component for our clients as we help them to be mortgage masters, I think is ensuring that they have a really optimal debt structure.
mm,
We could care, to be clear, we could care less who you bank with. For us, it's about really being tactical in terms of that mortgage structure. So one of the tools that we use is we have a mortgage optimization calculation. Is it 8 lines of calculus? Most
Something,
people's
8 pages. Yep.
people's eyes are glazing over. But essentially what it does is it cuts that mortgage into savings or debt reduction goals. So this isn't a wafty path that we surmise might happen. This is the things that we force through being strategic, making sure that you're working to a plan that aligns to your goal. And again, that financial freedom piece is just so important. And I think for most people, this is about creating or boldly choosing a path that is going to give you more options and your family more options into the future. So thank you so much, Shelley. And in terms of numbers, also an accountant, so I'm going to talk about numbers first, Shelley. Um, we're going to, who has, to be clear, worked out said numbers for
Yeah.
Katie Wesney. Thank you, Shelley. So in terms of numbers, Sarah and Mike are mortgage free at 65, and that is an achievement in itself. It's just you can't eat your house. They have been contributing, so they cleared out their KiwiSaver to buy that first home, and then they've been contributing. We've modelled 3%, and their employer's been matching at 3%. Therefore, their KiwiSaver balance is 591,000. Not to be sniffed at. This is all an achievement.
And that's in today's money.
In
That's in
today's
today's
money.
money. So
Yeah,
we've adjusted for
absolutely.
inflation with our
We
numbers.
have. We
Yeah.
have indeed.
Yeah.
Shelley has. And so any dreams about spending more time on hobbies or with grandchildren had to be put on hold at this point because there's no money left over for other things. And to be clear, in terms of that retirement pot of 591,000, again, not to be sniffed at, when we look at what a couple will need to live a reasonable life with choice over 25 years, so retiring at 65 to get you to 90, people generally need about 900,000
Yeah.
plus maybe a
Plus.
few extras. You
Mm.
did right.
Mm.
So
Not
better
enough.
than most, but you can do better. You can do better. And that's the challenge of this webinar tonight. And Shelley, do you want to go through the numbers around that investing
Yes.
with the cash
Yes.
surplus?
So obviously the traditional path, they simply have KiwiSaver in a mortgage-free home. Whilst great, we know it's not enough. And the $900,000 that Katie alluded to, there's been a lot of research done by universities around that number, and that is proven. And we've seen that with our clients too, haven't we, Katie? That is what
Yeah,
people spend.
yeah.
So we don't want
Minimum.
ourselves arriving at 65 and having to live small. To me, that's very disappointing.
The
So
long time retired, Shelley.
a long time, a long time. And yeah, can't do those things that you want to do. So, and you certainly, it leaves very little room for helping anyone else. So not good enough is, I guess, the long and the short of that. So pick a path number 2 is they find the 15% of money that goes walkabout. We call that fritter. And they invest that into a diversified investment fund. So this second pathway, and I think for purposes of this illustration, we've actually compounded at 3.5%, and we've done that across the board with all of our returns, including the property growth calculations and things as well. So everything is at 3.5%. What you're seeing takes into account inflation, fees, and tax on any investment fund. So it is in today's money. So what we've done here is we've said we've taken 15%, which they are a family that earns $200,000 between them before tax. 15% of their after tax worked out to be a little over $21,000 per annum. So they have found that and they have popped that into an investment fund religiously for every month for 30 years while they're paying off their mortgage, in addition to their KiwiSaver. So basically, they've tapped into that magic finance fundamental that we call compound interest, and that's compounded really nicely, hasn't it, Katie, to nearly $1.2 million
Great
in an
result.
investment fund. I mean, great result, not too bad.
I
That's a
actually made you
retirement.
double check it. I was like, are you sure,
Yeah.
Shelley?
Yeah, I double and triple check these numbers. This is a retirement with a few more choices. But in my mind, how can we take this to the next level, Katie?
Elevate it.
How can we elevate?
Okay. Next slide. That's Shelley like going, next slide.
Next slide, Katie.
Next slide. So if you remember for Sarah and Mike on this path, we've pushed them a little bit to do better by really having a goal that's sexy enough and motivating enough for them to try harder to facilitate that additional property. Paid off their mortgage at 47. How awesome.
They
And
listened to us. They
I
stuck to their
know,
plan.
I know, which again, all credit to them in this path. Um, to be mortgage free at 47, it just gives you a whole lot more options and less pressure in terms of work choice, etc., and how long you work for. So remember, them being mortgage free at 47, they've essentially got 18 years to grow wealth. So a longer runway, and that runway is really important. Is it ever too late? Certainly not. But the longer your runway, the more options that you have. And to be clear, we're working with a whole lot of people in their 50s, 60s. It is never too late. But again, we're working with our pick a path tonight. So with the runway, we managed to invest that 71K per annum into investment funds. What a difference in terms of
Huge,
outcomes.
huge,
Yeah.
huge. Because
And
when you've paid your mortgage off, Katie, the money that you were sending towards those mortgage repayments can now be invested. Like
absolutely.
powerful. So for these guys, in terms of the numbers, that freed up another close to $50,000 a year. So it's 40
Huge.
something. So between what they were already saving, that 20%, and the money that they were channeling through to their mortgage, by getting the mortgage free faster, we grew them to a $71,000 surplus or ability to save once they were mortgage free. So quite the engine room to actually invest and to get that compounding. So that's kind of where you're seeing that
Yeah.
1.777
Not to
million.
mention, obviously, a key point in this is that yes, they've increased the cadence at which they pay off debt, but creating equity within there, they've tapped into that to buy another property.
Yeah.
In game for them is a additional gain on property of 921,000. And again, that's the power of leverage, isn't it, Shelley, in terms of this
Exactly.
example?
Yeah. So they've
Yeah.
tapped into compound interest in terms of that investment fund. They've stopped the compound interest in terms of the interest paid to the bank. And they've tapped into leverage by buying an investment property. And of course, they've had
Mm,
their KiwiSaver bubbling away in the background at 3%. So the 921,000 you see on the screen, that is the gain on top of what they would sell that property for. So in terms of the numbers, we've assumed they borrowed the 800,000 and they didn't ever pay that off. So we're just talking about the gain on the property. And again, I've done that at 3.5% just to be really conservative and to compare apples with apples. So this is a choices and definitely a choices and freedom
yeah. And I
retirement,
think
isn't it?
what it also facilitates is the ability to potentially help other people as well in
Mm,
terms of
mm,
children, etc., which I always think is so important to the vast majority of our clients. So these are real numbers. This is what we see
mm,
every day,
mhm,
and what we're trying to illustrate in this example is you have options, and again, a really fundamental option for most people is to address that mortgage. Is that the only thing you do? Certainly not. There are lots
mm,
of other options available to you, and it's about understanding those levers and pulling them. But even just again, we're really re-emphasizing in this slide, it is important to pay off your mortgage faster. And we're talking about home mortgage. Investment debt is different,
yeah.
but look at the difference in terms of interest paid over that mortgage term. 223K of interest paid on that mortgage master versus the traditional path, 660K. So that's what
Mm.
everyone else is doing. I just don't
Why
accept it
would
and I
you?
will not. So
No.
again, that is why we are really clear that at Enable Me, we're looking at this holistically. We're not saying just invest in property, just invest in funds. We're looking at everything and leaving no stone unturned and making sure that we're mitigating interest, we're tapping into that leverage piece, but we're also making sure that we're introducing liquidity along the way
Very
in terms
important.
of
Yeah.
options. So,
And
so
risk.
important.
Mm.
So just bringing it home in terms of
The
conclusion,
numbers and the
Shelley.
numbers. Yeah, so you can see here, we've kind of overlaid the three pathways. The traditional path, they arrive with a mortgage-free home, great, and they have 591. Investing a little bit extra, that 15%, and compounding that, they have 1.7
Which
million,
is awesome. Like
which is
that is
great.
awesome.
It's
That is
great.
such a better outcome than that
Yeah,
traditional one.
yeah, just
And
that one tweak.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
This is assuming a good day, obviously, that Sarah and Mike were very diligent and they've stuck to our plan really, really well.
yeah. They didn't have
Um,
curveballs.
yeah, exactly. So this is obviously they've played it correctly
Yeah.
from day dot of getting into that home, but really taking that multifaceted mortgage master approach, the numbers speak for themselves. But do you know what I think, Katie, is actually, why does that matter? Why does that number matter? In my mind, freedom and choice. Freedom and choice. I sit here and I think, do you know, I actually don't need the 3 million. I'd rather be able to have choices around the work that I do from a certain age. If I have grandchildren, I want to be able to spend time with them. Do you know, I want peace of mind, security, and stability leading into my retirement. I want to be able to live life on my terms and set myself up for a better future. So the numbers are one thing, but what does it actually mean to you in terms of how you want to live your life? I think that's the key message really on
Mm.
this slide.
Yeah, and I think, do you know what? Everyone has different goals. I absolutely appreciate that. But over the last decade, I think that, and I listen, you know how hard I listen to our
Mm,
clients. I actually think the fundamental driver for people to do better, to be more strategic, is to have more security, just to not worry
agreed.
about money,
Agreed.
Shelley. I think
Peace of
sleeping
mind.
at night,
Peace
yeah.
of mind.
But I
Yeah.
think also that lovely sense of financial freedom. So again, just having more choice, as you said, around the work
Mm,
you do, how long you work for. I think those are
mm.
the key drivers. And I suppose reflecting back on your strategy, what you're executing on at the moment. Um, Shelley, do you want to just
Yeah, so we've got another poll here. So, given what you've seen, we want to understand, for those of you who are watching and listening tonight, what you feel you are doing at the moment. Which scenario do you think is reflective of your current path? Are you doing the traditional, the weed choked, rutted cattle track, traditional path? Are you actually putting some money aside, or are you already working with us or wanting to work with us to pay that mortgage off faster and unlock opportunities to grow wealth and give yourselves choice and freedom?
mm,
Maybe some people here are already retired
mm,
and they've got the 3
yeah,
million in the bank.
maybe.
So let's see. 40% traditional, yeah, and a little,
Let's fix that, team. Let's fix
yeah,
that.
nearly half of you. Yeah, it is a
Yeah,
weed choked, rutted
yeah,
cattle track. It is not a path, the traditional
yeah,
path. We've
yeah.
got to be tactical. We've got to be strategic, and we just need to be better, I
Mm.
think, than that system.
Yeah, and also celebrating that some people on the call are on the path in terms of mortgage masters or they're
Yeah.
mortgage free. That is absolutely awesome. And again, always we're ensuring that the plan and your path that you're walking is fit for purpose. Because again, we've tried to be really illustrative in terms of options, but also knowing there's nuances and there's lots of things you need to be assessing. Is it a lock and leave strategy for anyone, Shelley? Certainly
Mm,
not, in
mm,
terms of we're always assessing, is this fit for purpose in terms of property? What
yeah.
is that right
Yeah.
mix between property,
Yeah.
funds, etc.?
Yeah.
And it's never too late.
Mm.
So
No, I was
again,
going to say that. Yeah, because
yeah,
there's going to be people on the call who are going, but Katie, we're not 35 and we haven't just bought our first home and we,
same. Hey, my
We have a
friends.
short runway.
Yeah, yeah. And again, it doesn't matter when you start, it's the fact that you do start. But again, the older we get, the more strategic we have to be, because again, the runway is shorter. And I love that quote, someone's sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago. And that lovely sense of when's the best time to plant that said tree?
Yeah.
25 years ago, second best time today. So
Now.
again, that sense
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
it's never too late, get cracking. And I was talking to a lovely client this morning, and they kind of slinked into my office and they're like, oh, not sure if this is entirely my bag, Katie. I work really hard. I earn good money. I just don't have time for any of this. And again, no judgment. And what we know to be true, don't we, Shelley, is that
Mm,
what you've done in the past is no indication of what you're capable of in the
yeah.
future. And
Yeah.
we're often drawing a line in the sand, aren't we, Shelley? And we
A
get
very deep one.
excited about what comes next. And
We
that's
do.
really important.
And we work with people of all ages and stages.
Yep,
We see
for
people
sure.
in their 60s. It is never ever too late, but you must start. You must
Yeah,
start now.
yeah. And I think that personally, I think we're such a nation of hard workers. It's just for how hard we work, we do not make the financial progress we
So true.
deserve. And in knowing that, how do we fix that? How we fix that is by being more strategic with the assets that we have, the liabilities we have. Let's get the position working harder for us, because if we don't, we just have to work harder and longer than we should, to be honest. And
Exactly.
what's the solution for you? Um, you can't just do what you've always done and expect different results. Calling that out,
Yep.
I think
Yep.
that's the definition of insanity.
You will need to change.
Yes. But again, everyone's different and it's
Mm.
not cookie cutter. So, what is the right solution for you? So we've got another wee poll here. So what do you currently invest in? KiwiSaver, investment property, shares, managed funds, term deposits, high interest savings? Not at all. We know there are other options. We've just kind of chosen the most common. So just quickly flick what is the ones that you are doing at the moment.
To be fair, we're hoping everybody is doing KiwiSaver in addition
Well,
to other things.
I challenge that a little bit, Shelley. If they're self-employed clients,
Mm,
we
mm,
got to understand if that's the right solution for them as well as part of that.
Definitely our employed
Yeah,
clients.
yeah. Don't
If you're
miss out
getting
on
that
free money.
matching, don't miss out on free money.
Yeah, really
Um,
important.
I think regardless of what you're investing in, so lots of you are in KiwiSaver, fantastic. Oh, we've got 41% who have an investment property, a real
That's
mix,
awesome.
actually.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, the point is we need to find the right mix actually for your specific situation. So it's not about a cookie cutter approach or a single approach. It's not just a scattergun approach. We'll have some managed funds, we'll buy a property. There will be the right property and the right mix of managed funds and the right KiwiSaver for you and your situation. And I think
Mm,
diversification is key, but we have to start to understand what is the problem we're trying to solve. How long is that runway? What is your specific financial plan? And it is the financial plan that guides the investment strategy, because the investment strategy that is right for you is not going to be right for the next person that walks in the door. So it is definitely not a single approach. We've talked about, even with those pathways, doing certain types of investments, but actually there are lots of different types of investments out there. So next slide, please, Katie.
well, she was trying
Um,
to like hint, and I was like, doop de doo, lock
um,
in.
yeah, many different types of investments, and some of them may or may not be suitable. So for some of us, we actually like to invest in business, and we work with, maybe I think it's about between 25 and 30%
Mm,
of our clients are actually self-employed or
yeah,
in business. So business is a really high risk, not going to lie, high risk, high reward
a
way of,
slog.
of growing your wealth. But for others, they might be doing things like an index fund or an ETF, an exchange traded fund. Others invest in Bitcoin, and there's a mix that will be right for you depending on where we need to land. What are we shooting for here? What kind of a life do you want? What are your goals and dreams? Let's put numbers around those goals and dreams, and then understand that the investment mix that you have will actually grow by the requisite amount for you to live said goals and dreams when you no longer want to work. So the option for you depends on the problem you're trying to solve and how long we have to get there.
Absolutely. And don't put all your eggs in one basket. And
Diversify.
to be frank, we could care less if you invest in property funds. It's just what will serve you best in the context of your plan. I think that's a real differentiator for us as
So true.
coaches in
Mm,
terms of
mm,
really zooming out and understanding your goal, where you want to land, the life you want to lead, and how do we ensure that we execute on a strategy that is true to those goals and again get you there as fast as possible whilst mitigating as much risk as possible.
mm,
So again, we're not advocating for just one strategy. It is what are the mix of strategies that are right for you, age and stage, knowing that we never lock and leave at any point in time. And even if you, a lot of the people on this call, you've got investment properties, we're always assessing,
mm,
is that property still fit for purpose? Could you get that equity or capital working better in another property? Is it still
mm.
fit for purpose, or could you invest it elsewhere from a diversification and a liquidity perspective? So these are all the things you need to be thinking about in terms of your financial plan that you are executing on.
So true, Katie. And, there's always an opportunity cost to staying still, isn't there?
Oh, there
And
really
for
is.
some clients, we see, they have a couple of investment properties, maybe one, two, or five, or 10. And there's just an opportunity cost to holding that property. They could actually do better, and it's not serving them. So true. There's actually a risk. The risk is standing still and not being an active holder across all of your different investments.
Oh, so true. And so often we see the investment properties that lots of people hold in New Zealand. We call them accidental
Yeah.
rentals in terms of, they've gone to upgrade their home and the bank is like, do you know what? We'll lend you the money for this property. Just keep your old property.
hmm
And again, not quite right from a cash flow perspective. It's all wonky in terms of
The
your,
lending's not
you're paying
right.
more tax and
Yeah.
interest. So again, it's a really an assessment of, is all of my assets, all of my debt really serving me in the context of my goals, my plan, my runway? And that is the approach that will ensure that you really do maximize and you do improve that trajectory and you land where you need to with maximum choice. I think that's really important. Shelley,
Yes. So speaking of Enable Me coaching, because we've been talking about coaching clients all the way through this call, that's what we do. That's our day job. We do webinars at night, but during the day, we coach clients. And so what do we do as a coach? What does that mean? So in my mind, you don't work with a coach to do what you've always done. You work with a coach to get you feeling really empowered around your finances, to zoom out a little bit, because I think some people can get a little bogged down, and we like to say in the weeds with their situation. It's our job to help them lift their eyes off the road, look ahead and go, you actually can do better here in a range of different areas. Sometimes I'm looking through and I'm going, okay, that needs addressing, that needs addressing, that needs addressing. But I think it's about giving you the confidence, holding you accountable, and making sure that you actually damn well do it, because it's too awesome to not. Why would you stick with that traditional path when you can create freedom and choice so much quicker and easier? So, working with a coach, we just get you there faster, I think, than you're naturally on track to do.
yeah, agreed. And I think to be clear, we're not here to criticize. We're actually not going
We
to be
never
your
judge.
cheerlead. We're not going to be your cheerleader. I think as coaches, our job is to unlock potential to make
Mm,
sure that you really do live that best version of a life infinitely. I really do
agreed.
believe that is our job as coaches. And
Mm.
I think for lots of us, we get complacent or we get scared, but we really do need to understand that there is a cost to inaction and not being strategic in terms of your position. Would you not agree, Shelley?
I do. And a lot of people are feeling the uncertainty, I think, at the moment around the economy and in the job
Agreed.
market. And it's putting them off from starting. And I don't like that, because if you don't get in control, if you aren't feeling empowered around your finances, how in the heck would you cope if there was volatility? If you don't have a plan, So you just need to start. And I think the feeling in control gives you that sense of peace of mind, despite the volatility that you're feeling external to you, into your situation.
Yeah, I'll never
Mm,
forget. I was doing another face-to-face presentation at a big organization for employee well-being, and I bumped into a client who had signed with us 6 months prior and was in program, Shelley. And
hmm.
I was like, "How are you?" And he's like, "So good. Started, lost my job in like
Oh,
five
God.
minutes, so like 2 months into the plan." And he was like, it was so jarring, but awesome at the same time because in
Mm.
that 2 months, I built up a buffer. I knew my numbers. I knew exactly what I was targeting in terms of that next job.
How
And
long the money would last.
exactly right. Insurances had been reviewed, and he said it was just, I had the sense of, I mean, it was scary, but I had a sense of peace and I did what needs to be done. And I
Mm.
think back to COVID times, which was very jarring. I'll pick off the scab, but I was always, we've worked really closely with, Air New Zealand, and so that was really jarring at the time
For
in
our
terms of all our
pilots,
pilots and air
and
crew
flight
and stuff.
attendants. Yeah.
But I was always so proud that up to that point, they had done what needed to be done and
Mm.
they had given themselves more options because point is, we don't have a crystal ball. Shelley and I would dearly love to have one. It's
We
not
get asked
about,
to shine it multiple
we
times
do.
per week.
But in knowing we don't have crystal balls, what are the things that we focus on now that will get you and your family ahead? And
Mm.
I think some people kind of take themselves down the garden path to, well, I've got to do this and that. And it's like, in all reality, team, you do the next right thing and the next right thing and the next right thing, and your whole trajectory shifts.
It
And that
does.
trajectory
Mm.
is our focus. And
Mm.
again, that is our whole job. So if you're not working with us, if you are, thank you for listening. But if you are not working with us, I'd strongly encourage you to come in for an initial session with us. 90 minutes, jump on the financial scales. We'll assess together, where are you at now? Where do you want to be? Are you on track, or can we get you ahead faster? And that's that end plan in terms of let's make sure that we're really maximized and we're doing what needs to be done. Because again, I love that so many of you have registered, and we'll send out this video tomorrow for those who couldn't make it. I love that you've come. I love that there's a thirst for knowledge, but knowledge doesn't get you ahead. It's doing the things that need to be done. And so we'd love to offer you a special discount if you book tonight. God, is it October the 22nd tonight,
Yes, it
Shelley?
is.
Oh my
Yes, it
God,
is.
life flashing before my eyes.
I know.
Um, so if you book tonight, this 90-minute session with a coach like Shelley and myself, we've got amazing coaches up and down the country. You can do it via video, face to face, we don't care. 90 minutes, usually 400. If you book tonight, it's 149. Great value. If you book after that and mention this webinar, you will get it for 249. So this is a one night special, 149. Scan the QR code. But I suppose in terms of key message, this is your life, your choice. Now you know the consequences. You've just seen the three paths and three completely different futures. The question isn't which one is right, it's which one is right for you based on where you are and where you want to go. Because here's what Shelley and I know, doing nothing is still a choice.
Mhm.
And your future self is either going to thank you for taking action tonight or wonder why you didn't move when you had the clarity. So, honestly, if you want to get strategic, like actually strategic, book a 90-minute consult with a qualified financial advisor and coach like Shelley and me. Honestly, we'll assess that situation, map out the right approach for you, and get you cracking on making the financial progress you deserve. But here's the real point, whether you book with us or not, please do something. Talk to someone qualified, build a plan, stop hoping it'll work out and start making it work out. Your
Force the result.
future, yeah, your future self deserves options. Give them some. Let's go. So Q&A.
We have
Emma.
a few minutes.
Yeah, Emma.
Thank you so much for your time and sharing your insights with these three different pick a path strategies, Katie and Shelley.
Mhm.
We have time for a few questions from our audience before we have to finish up. So, the first question we have is there a good benchmark to know when you should start to leverage your equity if you haven't
Mm.
paid off your mortgage yet?
Great. I love this question. And if you come and see me and I get your mortgage graph to 7 years or less, it is then. That is the point. But if the bank will lend you, then you probably should, is actually the answer to that question. If you can obtain the lending and you can go through those affordability calculators at the bank, you should do it if you haven't already. For lots of our clients, it does translate to that they're tracking to be mortgage free in around that 7 to 10 year or less. They've got a little bit of excess cash flow, but banks have an appetite with lending, and if you're on the wrong side of 35, TikTok, the lending clock is ticking. So the bank's appetite for lending shrinks as you age. So if you can, you should leverage while you
Yeah,
can,
agreed.
is the
Yep,
answer.
great.
Thank you so much for that answer, Shelley. And the next question is there a benefit to structuring your mortgage into chunks of 1 year fixed, 2 years fixed, and 5 years fixed to leverage interest rate changes? Or is it better to just keep it as one chunk?
Yeah, I think it's situational. I think most clients hedge interest rate risk by splitting term, so renewals don't hit all at once. But if you are planning a major move, align your fixed terms to avoid costly break fees. But honestly, cookie cutter approaches fail. Your timeline dictates your strategy.
Hmm.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And the next question is, do you have any advice about mitigating risk? How to have cash flow while investing and how to grow property without feeling like you are in a huge amount of debt?
Yeah,
And would you mind just
non-negotiable.
flicking back to the QR code slide as
Oh,
well?
yes. I think so,
Or was that
Katie.
me?
Back to the QR.
Sorry.
We always want to mitigate. There are inherent risks with any investment, be it property, be it funds, be it business, be it Bitcoin, whatever. There are inherent risks. So we always want to be able to understand what those risks are. And I think step one is identifying the risk. Step number two is mitigating it. But underpinning all of that, non-negotiable, we have an emergency buffer, ideally
Mm,
6 months worth of your money. I think regards to property, what is the correct criteria for that property? And
so true.
for those of you with existing properties, potentially the criteria for that property isn't actually right for your situation. So
Mm,
again, it harks back to that risk around doing nothing and the opportunity cost of that. So if you can't articulate how the investment fits, you're actually gambling, you're not investing.
mm, yeah, so true.
Thank you, Katie and Shelley. That is all the questions that we have time for tonight to keep
Thanks.
it nice and snappy. Sorry that we can't get to absolutely everybody's questions, but we do encourage, if you have any questions about our financial consultations, to email us via info@enabled.me or call us at the number on our website or take advantage of that great offer for tonight. I'll hand back to both of you to finish off.
Yeah, and we hope you enjoyed this session. I think knowledge is power, but action is the thing that moves the dial. And I
Agree.
really encourage you to take action on the back of tonight. And we wish you all the very best for the future. And we would love to see you for a consult. So all the very best. Take care.
Thanks. Thanks for listening.